Peace, peace, peace. All right. I love to follow Kev Mac videos. I like the guy Skip Townsend. And basically, I like the community of former gang members who have gravitated to YouTube in order to spread the proper history of the evolution of gangs in California. I believe that these guys need to be listened to. I believe that these guys have pretty much lived the gang lifestyle from beginning to end. And because of that, they have all the answers that these young kids need to change. The problem is, young kids aren't sitting around on YouTube watching older guys deliver information about gang history. They're too busy watching rap videos and, outside doing things. Shout out to Street TV. I love his content too. I think it's great. I think it's crucial. I think it's important. And if you're familiar with that particular community, you might be familiar with a guy named Mad Ronald. He's a former gang member, and he's appeared in a bunch of documentaries and interview series giving the history of his gang, the Rolling 20s. And he's reformed. He has a positive message encouraging people not to join gangs, and he basically delivers the history of why he joined a gang in order to help prevent people from following in his footsteps. He's a legitimate businessman, and he's a cool guy that you can learn a lot from. All right, he got caught up in some sort of case in Georgia. And I'm not going to speak about his particular case because I'm not familiar with it, but I am going to speak about Georgia. If you just go on YouTube and type in Georgia prosecutes gang, you will see that Georgia recently, in the past 2 years, has unleashed a whole bunch of these operations targeting gangs because Georgia is run by Republicans. Yeah, Atlanta, they get Democrat mayors, but they are going after these gangs because they believe that the increase in violence that's happening in Georgia is due to these out-of-towners bringing their gang conflicts to Georgia. Because as everybody knows, Georgia is one of those states that has a lot of people from other places living there. Atlanta has more out-of-towners living there than locals. It's kind of like New York City. It's a place, it's a melting pot, where people are attracted to coming to because apparently they have cheap property, they have good living because Atlanta has so many different suburbs surrounding it. And the city is only a couple of minutes away from each suburb. And apparently you can have a lot of business opportunities living there. Okay, so recently a bunch of young rappers made Atlanta. Well, it's always been that way since the 90s. I mean, Too Short moved to Atlanta like in 1990. Tupac lived in Georgia. So for some reason, rappers have always been attracted to Georgia. Too Short says that they have an excellent strip club culture and the property was cheap. That's why he moved there. But in recent years, the young rappers have decided to move there too. Most popularly, Little Durk. He's from Chicago. He made Georgia his home. And as you know, Little Durk is currently on trial for murder. And his co-defendant, King Von, was killed in Georgia by Quando Rondo's friend. And Quando Rondo is a Crip. He represents Rolling 60s Crips. So the establishment in Georgia is trying to fix their crime problem because they do have increasing crime. The homicide rate is increasing in Georgia just like everywhere else in the country. And their solution is to attack the out-of-towners because they are blaming them for bringing this gang influence to their state. But these Georgia officials are operating based on outdated information. in their minds, they think that the older guys are running the gangs, telling the gangs what to do as the head, but that's not the case. I mean, these young guys do not have structure in their gangs. I mean, you don't even have to be a part of the same gang to be a part of the same clique. You can have 10 different guys that belong to 10 different gangs, but they themselves are a clique or a gang. So Georgia is operating based on outdated information. They seem to think that gang structure is the same way that it was 40, 30 years ago, when in fact that's not the case. Older guys are not coming to Georgia and flipping the locals into gangs. Older guys aren't coming to Georgia with armies of gangs that are committing violence and murders. So Mad Ronald basically got caught up in that matrix. He was in Georgia for some particular reason, and during elections, when it comes to local elections, like electing DAs and stuff like that, Georgia, the Georgia Republican establishment wants to run on a platform of fighting crime. And what they're going to do is they're going to blame the Democrats for promoting crime, allowing crime to happen, encouraging out-of-town criminals to come into their state, and they're going to present themselves as the Republican crime fighters who are going to be the solution to the increasing crime rate that's happening in their state. So that's pretty much what's going on. And the way it works is Republicans get together nationally through the Republican Party, the National Republican Convention. They have like a structure in place where every Republican state in America gets together and they create a platform for future elections. So they all get together and they say, okay, what can we run on to beat the Democrats in these upcoming elections in all of our states? And not just federal elections, local elections too. They all get together to strategize. And their strategy for these new upcoming elections are fight crime, present themselves as the solution to the criminal problem, and present themselves as the solution to the rising murder rate, and to portray the Democrats as allowing this crime to happen, and presenting the Democrats as being anti-police, and they want to defund the police during a time when homicides and crime in general is higher than it's been in the past 30 years. So free Ronald. Ronald actually has spoken since his arrest. I just was on Skip Townsend's page, and he recorded himself talking to Mad Ronald on the phone through a jail call. And Mad Ronald has said that he's not in the federal system. He's in the state system, and he unequivocally says that he's innocent, and that if he does have any contact with gang members, he's trying to encourage them to get out of the gang life, or he's trying to give them positive tools to help them go legit. I was watching an interview of Mad Ronald previous to his arrest on Street TV, and he was happy and proud of the fact that he hasn't been in prison or jail in 12 years, and he was confident that he was never going back. And he was unequivocally promoting the fact that he's a businessman and that he would never ever get involved in crime because it's stupid. First of all, he's too old. He doesn't have it in him anymore to do any more bids, and it's just much more comfortable for him to be a legit businessman. And he feels like if you can sell drugs and you've got the skill set to manage a drug operation, then you should have the ability to run a legitimate business, which he does. So I want to end this video by saying free Ronald, and I also want to encourage you guys to watch your step in Georgia. Not just in Georgia, but any Republican state. If you're a former gang member and you've turned your life around, please watch your step, or just flat out don't go to any southern states, because this is the strategy that they're implementing. They're casting a wide net. I mean, Georgia They've already prosecuted the gangster disciples. Right now, they're in the process of prosecuting Crips, rolling some sort of Crip set that they're prosecuting right now. They're prosecuting the Bloods, and they're also prosecuting the Black disciples. So this is something that is heavily happening in Georgia and the South. Peace. Be safe.